Raygun is coming to Madison. Raygun is a Midwest-based unionized design and print shop with retail locations in cities across our region, and now Madison. They're opening on State Street this September at the former Paul's Bookstore location. Raygun is proud to support public media, public schools, public lands, and public restrooms. Shop and sign up for their newsletter at raygunsite.com and follow at Raygun Shirts everywhere for new product releases, plus grand opening information for their new location at 670 State Street in Madison. You're invited to Bike the Barns, a one-of-a-kind food and farming adventure taking place on Sunday, September 21st in the Madison area. Hosted by Fair Share CSA Coalition, this fundraising bike ride supports local farmers and fresh food access. With fresh farm foods and drinks, live tunes, and farm tours at each stop, plus all skill levels are welcome because it's a ride, not a race. Spots fill up quickly, so register today at csacoalition.org and pedal together for fresh food for everyone. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, it's time for the Friday News Roundup. I won't sugarcoat it. There's some pretty tough news to get into, but I promise you there will be some levity before I make last call on this roundup. My guests today are our newsletter editor, Rob Thomas. Good to see you, Rob.
Hey, Bianca.
And our producer, Jade Isiri Ramos. Hello, Jade. It's also always good to see you.
Good to see you too, Bianca.
Yeah, so I have the first story of this week, and it's the news of the nation that's certainly being felt here in Madison. There's been another mass school shooting, this time at a pre-K to 8th grade Catholic school in Minneapolis on this Wednesday. The shooting left 2 children dead and 17 injured, a majority of which were young students, and the shooter themselves took their own life. While we're not a show about Minneapolis, I think it's important to take a moment to honor the victims from our neighbors to the north, with so many Minnesotans who live here in our city. But more than that, there's a fair amount of community here in Madison who are feeling this acutely because of our own fresh wounds from last December, when a similar tragedy, the Abundant Life Christian School shooting, happened, and that's still fresh. The 2 shootings have a number of parallels, being at Christian schools, how it ended, and the Abundant Life Christian School itself, they have reached out and are sending their prayers about this tragedy. And unfortunately, there's another Madison tie. The alleged shooter had earlier posted a video to YouTube, confirmed by CBS Minneapolis and Minneapolis local authorities, that has now been taken down, that showed the shooter showing off a number of weapons, including a gun with the last name of the Abundant Life Christian School shooter, Rupnow, painted on it. So it's not clear if that gun, which had other words painted on it, was the gun used in the Minneapolis shooting this Wednesday, but authorities also said they believe that the shooter acted alone. So there's a lot still unknown in this situation, and, we're sharing what we know, but as a reminder of what happened back last December on Madison's Far East Side, a student of the Abundant Life Christian School, Natalie Rupnow, opened fire at her school on December 16th, 2024, and killed 2 people, injured 6 more. And, it's really so fresh, and there seems to be so many parallels, and it felt like we had to start the show this way. It would just feel off not to recognize this incident. I want to ask you, Jade and Rob, how are you feeling? How are you taking this news? Even though it's not in our city, it feels like it is.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And this is strange to say, but I do feel this one is hitting me harder than I feel like we just had so many mass shootings. Maybe there's some personal reasons involved. Maybe it is the proximity between Minneapolis and Madison. Maybe it's, like you said, the similarities to the Abundant Life shooting here last December. It's also, I think, something with it's the first week of school. It's like there's so much hope and promise right now. You really feel it. And to have this happen, it's just so horrifying and disgusting and senseless, and all the words people say right now that don't seem to change anything.
Yeah, and I think, Minnesota just really suffered a tragic loss with lawmakers being slain. And so this feels sort of like another wound on top of a bleeding city. And certainly my empathy for Minneapolis is strong right now.
Yes. We just, mm, it's this moment where we feel like, how do we stop this? And, in the national landscape of we're seeing military being sent to cities talking about crime and danger, it feels very unsafe. It's very unsettling. And I think the biggest thing for me, too, is that, yeah, people are sending their kids back to school these weeks. Like, this is the time where people should be excited and kids should be happily, picking out their notebooks, not being afraid of their first day back. And I just feel like parents and guardians are probably feeling this so intensely. I won't go into depths on the specifics of the Annunciation Catholic School shooting because I think folks can find that coverage in many other places, and we are a Madison-focused show, but just the high level so people know what happened. According to the Associated Press, 2 children were killed, and they were 8 and 10 years old. Of the 17 injured, there were 3 adults, and they were parishioners in their 80s. And the rest injured were students between 8 and 15 years old. So, what's ringing in my ears is a moment from the Minneapolis mayor who spoke in the aftermath with a powerful message, and just want to let that message be shared.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
Oh man, y'all. This issue is certainly very tough, and we want to acknowledge that gun violence impacts so many on a personal level, and our empathy goes out to everyone in Minneapolis and all of the victims, and everyone here who's feeling fresh about the incidents here that have happened recently here in Madison. I will say it's making me think about our leadership, and what can be done, who keeps us safe when tragedy strikes. And there's another news story from Madison that I think is relevant, which is members of the Madison Police and Fire Commission, after a long hiring process, have named the next Madison police chief. So that news dropped also on Wednesday. John Patterson. Patterson has been serving as our interim chief since former Chief Sean Barnes stepped down in January. And he had a lot of community backing for this position. I'm transitioning from how the city is still feeling, remembering just how important our first responders were for the Abundant Life Christian shooting and how present they were. And particularly Chief Sean Barnes's presence in the briefings afterwards and keeping everyone updated about what was happening and clarity of communication, thinking about who, is officially going to take his spot is top of mind. So a little bit more about John Patterson. He has over 2 decades of experience with the Madison Police Department. And he started as a traffic officer, moved up the ranks as a narcotics investigator. He was also a leader on both the SWAT and special events teams. He's been a patrolman, a detective lieutenant. So he's got a ton of experience. And yeah, there's a great piece from Anjoiana Nerdine at the Cap Times all about this and looking into the process for the hiring. There was a big public component to the hiring process, places for comment. And residents waited on what's important in their next chief. I don't know if you all have been following this, but it seemed almost like he was kind of a shoo-in. What do you guys think about this process and this outcome?
Yeah, I don't think I was following it as closely as I maybe followed when Sean Barnes was appointed, because it felt like Patterson was such the shoo-in. He was so deeply tied into the community. He speaks Spanish, which I think is a big thing that the city was looking for in the next police chief. And yeah, I think that it makes sense that Patterson is the person for the job.
It would have been pretty surprising if they'd gone with one of the other 2 finalists, I think, because like you say, you would assume that someone already in the department would have kind of an inside track, but he also had made all those inroads in various communities in Madison. It seems like he knows Madison and will bring that experience in to bear in this role.
Yeah, one of the quotes I saw in Joanna's write-up was him saying to the community, like, Madison is the only community I want to serve. And I think that probably is music to everyone's ears, knowing that they brought such a huge process for bringing in the former chief, Sean Barnes, and then for them to leave to another position. I think wanting someone who is really qualified and also is dedicated to the community was really important. In that public comment process, there was another meeting that the Madison Police and Fire Commission held for more public comment. And residents said then that, they were looking for, a quote, a police leader who is familiar with Madison and its neighborhoods, values, engages with and serves a diverse population of residents, and understands the intersecting identities and realities facing marginalized communities. So yet to be seen, what Patterson plans to do in this role and position, but he has been serving as our interim chief. And, it's something we're putting the invitation out now. Love to talk to you, Patterson. And yeah, I think that it's good to know that there's a leader chosen that has a lot of community backing to help people feel like our department is in a strong position. When things happen, it's important. We're going to get into more news, but before we do that, let's take a beat. Hey, animal lovers! Your favorite team needs you to cheer them on at Bark and Wine Tailgate on Saturday, September 27th at Dane County Humane Society. From 3 to 6 p.m., join in the tailgate spirit with delicious food, refreshing drinks, tail-wagging games, a silent auction, and plenty of furry fun for a great cause. Plus, you'll get to meet some amazing animal greeters who will make the day unforgettable. Want more? Grab VIP pregame tickets to enjoy early access and other special perks. Can't wait for the event? The Donate to Vote Showdown is on. Every dollar you donate to cheer for your favorite animal team, cat, dog, wildlife, or critter, counts as one vote to crown this year's champion. Plus, your donation supports animals in our community. Last year, Team Cat clawed their way to the top, but who will win this tailgate rematch? That's up to you. Get your tickets today and start casting your votes now at giveshelter.org/BW. Remember that amazing little cafe you discovered last summer with the perfect latte and crazy view? Or that sweet hiking spot your friend told you about but you can't remember the name? With Overlook Maps, special places never get lost again. Create personal lists of places you've been and want to go. Build your must-visit list for your next vacation, your foodie favorites for date nights, or your weekend getaways when you need to escape. Share your favorite hidden gems with friends and family. Let them discover that incredible barbecue joint you found, or that scenic overlook that takes your breath away. Or keep your secret spots completely private. Planning a trip with friends? Create a shared list where everyone can add their ideas. Visiting a new city? Check out lists from locals who know the real gems, not just the tourist traps. And here's the best part. No ads cluttering your lists. No one selling your data to advertisers. Just your personal collection of amazing places organized exactly how you want them. Overlook Maps, collect, organize, and share the places that matter to you. Download free at overlookmaps.com and check out overlookmaps.com/Madison to see some of our lists and great spots on a map and in your pocket. Your places, your way. Okay, we're back. And, we're getting through some tough news. We're not always going to have an upbeat tone on this show. We will vary it because life is real and we are trying to bring our authentic selves to the podcast here. Jade, you have our next story, which does have more of a silver lining than some of the other things we're bringing.
Yeah, Bianca, I'm bringing us a story that we've been covering for quite a while. Bianca, you spoke with Amy Good from the Dane County Humane Society. And before I get into that, I will note that the Dane County Humane Society is a frequent sponsor of both the podcast and the newsletter. But like all stories we do, their sponsorship does not impact our story. But the conversation that you had with Amy was about the stray contract that DCHS has with Public Health Madison and Dane County. The news is the county and Dane County Humane Society have reached agreement on that stray contract. So for folks who missed that news or need a refresher, the TLDR is that the state law mandates that every municipality needs to deal with stray and impounded animals. And each year, Dane County contracts with the Humane Society for these services. So that's animals who, are found as strays or who are brought in when their owners are incarcerated or are brought in sort of hoarding or unsafe living situations. Earlier this summer, Dane County Humane Society raised concerns that they were out of allocated money for these services. They estimated that that funding gap was about $900,000. Basically, the amount that the county is willing to pay for these services and the real cost of taking care of the animals is not aligning. And the gap of hundreds of thousands of dollars has become the norm year after year. And again, this is just for stray, abandoned, and seized animals, right? This is just a small fraction of what DCHS does, and the rest of their operations are not funded by the city or the county. So we're not talking about their adoption services. We're not talking about their wildlife care. We're talking specifically about this one truly small part of what DCHS does as a whole.
Jade, wasn't like the number hadn't been updated for like 15 years or something like that? Or it was just a long time since they had revisited that contract.
Yeah, basically what the county believes it should take care of each animal that gets impounded and how many animals that they think are going to be impounded. Those numbers weren't adding up to the reality of what is happening. So the Dane County Humane Society signed a contract amendment with Public Health Madison and Dane County to continue their management of stray and impounded animals. And in this new deal, DCHS will be paid a flat rate per animal through the remainder of 2025. And that's an increase of about $220,000. So again, that doesn't close the $900,000 gap that DCHS is dealing with, but it does allow the Humane Society to continue dealing with and taking in stray and impounded animals and provide rabies-related services and all-around care for the animals. So what's next? Public Health and the Humane Society are now slated to start talking about their 2026 contract. And the Humane Society says that they're hoping for a more equitable contract, one that, quote, values our professional staff, supports our community, and ensures excellent care for every animal in need. So hopefully the Humane Society and Dane County can sort of get aligned on what it actually costs to take care of animals who are being taken in as strays or as impounds.
Yeah, I think these budget talks are never easy, but the point you brought forward, Rob, about the 15 years of not taking account of inflation is, going to be key. And I do recommend folks go back to the conversation with Amy Good and just kind of hear about what they're facing. And so we'll be sure to link that in our show notes. The clock is ticking for the Dane County Humane Society is the name of that episode. Before we dive into more news, we're going to take a quick break. Okay, so more challenges in the city. That's the point of this podcast, is talk about the things we're excited about and that we value, and also the things that are challenging. Like, that's important in one of our missions. Rob, you've got news around our downtown area.
Yeah, and talk about the things that we need to be talking about, right? We've talked before on the podcast and in the newsletter, and we will again about the challenges facing people in Madison experiencing homelessness and the organizations that seek to help those people. This week, Madison police announced that they were shutting down the encampment that had sprung up near the top of State Street, near the Wisconsin Veterans Museum. Madison police said it was a health and safety issue, that they've been getting a real increase in calls related to the encampment, thefts, fights, passersby being harassed, things like that. And police said that they were trying to do this sweep as humanely as possible. Last week, they went out and talked to the people there and kind of warned them ahead of time that this was coming and urged them to reach out to local resources. And then they also gave a heads up to those local community groups and nonprofits and said, look, these people are going to be moving. They're going to be needing a place to go. And the $1 million question is, where do they go? Right? Advocates for the unhoused in Dane County, such as an organization called Madison Street Medicine, say there already have very limited resources, which are stretched to the breaking point right now. Local homeless shelters are near capacity every night. Dairy Drive, which was this licensed campground, sort of like a tiny village for people experiencing homelessness, that's scheduled to shut down in September due to lack of funding. Bianca, I believe you're going to be talking to somebody, Brenda Conkle from Madison Street Medicine, about this on the podcast next week.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because Brenda's been in and around this issue for many years. And we're going to get into, I think, the complexities of what the city needs to do in terms of keeping people safe.
Right.
And also the realities of how you're going to deal with keeping people who are unhoused safe as well. All of it matters for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and things are happening, but the question is that the demand is rising. For example, there's been a lot of talk about this new men's homeless shelter that's coming in the spring, which will serve up to 250 people, which is great, but it won't be 24/7 because they said it will take $3 million per year to operate. And those one-time federal dollars that were coming during the pandemic have now all been spent. I saw an interview with the city's community development director, Jim O'Keefe, that said, the number of people using the shelters has increased threefold, but the cost has increased fivefold. So like you said, Bianca, there's all these larger forces kind of converging and money being a big part of it. I don't know. What do you guys think about the encampment being shut down on State Street?
I think one thing that's important to talk about in this conversation is that shelters aren't the total answer, right? Because not everyone wants to be in a shelter, not everyone can be in a shelter depending on their unique situations that they're facing. And most shelters in our area have a limit of how many nights one person can be at the shelter, right? So, if you only have I don't actually know how many days this is, but let's say you only have 100 days that you can stay at a shelter in a year, why would you spend them in August when it's
right.
Or September when it's nice out? It makes sense that people are choosing to camp out right now in Madison. And I don't know. I don't know that saying that people can't be camped out is what's best for people.
Yeah. And, it's bringing up for me a story I brought forward on the Friday News Roundup, a month ago was, if you guys remember, the top of State Street Plaza redesign. So the city's talking about redesigning that area. And we kind of all talked about what was there, a decade ago was this little art installation called Philosopher's Grove, where a lot of people who were unhoused spent time, and they ended up removing the installation because they were saying this is drawing people that we, don't want here. And maybe they didn't say that, but that was the effort. And we saw more hostile architecture. That was when I first learned of what that was, which is actually you can make benches that people don't want to sleep on because you're going to bifurcate it. And yeah, so this conversation about how to deal with the top of State Street has been going on for at least a decade, if not more. And it does feel hostile to constantly be putting pressure on the unhoused population and be please get out of our pretty spaces. It just feels very Paris and let's remove our homeless population from the pretty areas of the city. And it's a little devastating.
It's also it's pretty, but it's where the resources are, right? You're really close to the YWCA. We've talked about how the best bathrooms in Madison and downtown are at the Capitol. You know what I mean? These are where the resources are. You're right by the Central Library, which is a great resource. You're right by the Veterans Museum, great resource. And to say that you can't be here where the resources are feels, I don't know, harsh.
No, I think about the rhetoric we're hearing right now at the federal level and National Guard in Washington, D.C., and talk about cleaning up the streets. And it's I understand why people living and working near the State Street encampment want to be safe and are worried and want police to do something. But the problem is that people are unhoused. The problem is not that we are seeing people being unhoused. You know what I mean? And if you move them, the problem goes away. In many cases, it's making the problem worse. You're not solving the root problems. It's whatever the opinion of this particular decision by the police this week, there's so many larger forces that aren't being dealt with.
Well, while we've got our troubles, there are helpers, right? They're thinking about neighborhood. I'm going to go ahead and bring Mr. Rogers into it. Look for the helpers. Our city's full of helpers, and we're going to turn to that because it's time for our member shoutouts this week. Aligned a little bit with the story you brought forward, Jade. Will you tell us about one of our member shoutouts?
Yeah, Amanda G is shouting out WisCare's veterinary clinic, which she does admit is the nonprofit that she works for. So she is somewhat biased. But she wanted to shout out her coworkers for doing amazing things to serve this community. She says that WisCare focuses on helping low-income and insecurely housed people and their pets receive care through veterinary and social services. They're also associated with the School of UW Veterinary, Social Work, and Pharmacy to bring in students and aid the next generation to learn real-world skills and how to support communities like Madison. Rob, this really fits into what you were just talking about and what we were just talking about with Dane County Humane Society is addressing those root causes and meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
We gotta love it. And Amanda, we are not holding it against you that you're calling out your own coworkers for the amazing work they do. You say bias, I say close to it. So a great person to report out. Thank you, Amanda. And excitingly, Amanda just joined our neighbor program this week.
Yeah.
So thank you doubly, Amanda.
Yeah, thanks for the good news.
I love that she jumped right on that shout out.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that.
Me too. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe the shout out even inspired said becoming a neighbor. But actually, she said exactly why she wanted to join, and I'll share that right now. She said, quote, "Living in the city for the last 8 years, I felt that Madison was home. However, as I completed my doctorate and decided to really build my life here beyond just education, CityCast has been a part of me feeling like Madison is also my community. Thank you for all you do to inspire and build connection." Thank you, Amanda. Thank you.
Yeah, big shout out to Amanda, rockstar.
Rockstar, and that message just really resonates for people who go to UW. It can be its own universe, and then to actually integrate into Madison is a big deal. So such a thrill to be able to be a part of that for you, Amanda. And if you want to join Amanda, you can also support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. So if you want to make a neighbor shout out, you got to be a neighbor. Again, membership.citycast.fm. And Rob, you're rounding us out with some fun. Thank goodness.
Yeah. So this is my 1 year anniversary at CityCast, which is exciting.
Woo!
It's crazy. I feel like I just got here. But like the most popular thing I've ever done in the Madison Minutes newsletter was this quiz I wrote about slang that UW-Madison students use. It's move-in week, and a lot of freshmen are coming in. They're trying to learn the ropes, but learn the lingo. So I thought I'd help out. Badger Herald did an article a few months ago with these terms. So I did a little quiz. So if you'll indulge me, I wanted to maybe run a few by you guys and see if you can guess them.
Okay, I'm ready.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what is a fishbowl?
Oh, I know what a fishbowl is. A fishbowl is that big drink you get, But I don't know where the kids get them. I just know... I know that it's a big drink that you share with friends.
So I think I know where the kids get, because I went to UW, and I'm pretty sure the kids get their big like margarita fishbowl type drink at Wando's or Vintage.
Ding, ding, ding. Wando's.
Wando's.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can get I saw 100-ounce fishbowl for I can't remember the price, but get a few straws, get a few new friends, have a good time, as long as you're of age. Yeah.
I'm wishing that this was a video podcast now because my eyes bugged out of my head when you said 100 ounces.
They're genuinely a fishbowl.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Okay. If I refer to the cages, what am I referring to?
See, this is one that I would not have known if I didn't have Bianca and Haley, who were recently talking about their time in the cages.
Okay.
So Bianca, I'll let you take this.
Yes. So the cages are cages in Memorial Library. Am I right?
Correct. These
Correct.
little
So-
private study carols, right?
Yeah, and I have indeed locked myself in one of those cages when I was an undergraduate at UW-Madison. But the theme is I have to do this homework and I need to be locked in, literally, to get it done. And you can like sign yourself up and sign in to be in the back of this pretty quiet room with just a desk and get to work.
Yeah. I think I read grad students can reserve one for like 2 years, like a 2-year sentence in the cage or something like that.
Oh, hierarchy. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, if I referred to days, DAYS, what am I referring to? This one was not in the quiz in Madison Minutes, so.
Days. I have no clue.
I don't know. It made me think, is it like a student center?
Sort of.
Okay.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
If we're all going to days, where are we going?
Holidays. I don't know.
I have no clue. What is this? You stumped us.
You stumped us.
The bar on State Street called Mondays.
Oh, Mondays.
Students will call it days for short. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely missed that, but I have been.
That was a fun quiz. I understand why people are taking it online.
Yeah. They did pretty well, too, I think. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So Rob is the quiz master. And one more time for Rob. Congratulations. We're so grateful to have you. 1 year. Time has flown.
I know. It's crazy.
That is incredible, y'all. Well, we promised that we were going to end this on a positive note. We had some fun. Monday is Labor Day, so there won't be a new podcast episode or newsletter on Monday. So we get to have fun and take a little space. But we will be back Tuesday. So keep that in mind. That is intentional. All right, take a break, but come back. Okay, y'all. Thanks so much for rounding up the news with me this week. Jade Isiri Ramos, see you later.
Happy long weekend.
Happy long weekend. And Rob Thomas, thanks so much.
Thanks, Bianca.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. We're produced by Jade Isiri Ramos, Zoe Culkin, Elizabeth Kama, and Lizzie Goldsmith. Haley Sperling is our executive producer. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Additional music this week by Drew Shepard, DM, Anders Fab, and Lex Kipp from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. Rob Thomas is our newsletter editor. Woo, woo, woo! 1 year! 1 year! Let's go! Go subscribe! And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone who cares about safety in their community? All right, y'all. See you back here Monday morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, have a wonderful long weekend.